Okay. Sebastian, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here. Do you mind just introducing yourself, who you are, where you're based, and what you do?
I love that. Hey everyone, I'm Sebastian Conelli. I'm based out of New York City. I'm a New York boy, always from New York. And what I do is that's always a hard question for me because I do so many different things. So I have a podcast called Loud About Nothing. I also am an improviser, actor. I also teach improv. I'm currently, if you want to go see, I'm in the movie Anora, which is nominated for an Academy Award. So if you want to go see that, that's in theaters now. Also, I perform in live shows all over New York City that you could also live stream. Follow me on Instagram. I post about all of this fun stuff.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know you were in Honora. Is that the one about the Russian
Hmm.
prostitute? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Okay, awesome. So, you mentioned leaning into what you love instead of chasing a societal idea of masculinity. Like we were kind of chatting about that before we recorded. Um, so what's been your journey with that on a personal level and professional as well? Because I know you touch on this on your podcast.
Yeah, definitely. So I think on a personal level, I grew up in Staten Island, and if you don't know anything about Staten Island, it's a place where there is an idea of what a man is and what we should be. I grew up, my father was a beautiful man, very kind. He was an artist, he was a teacher, principal. But outside the home, I grew up around all these men that were very angry and would judge other men and call them names if they if they didn't fall in line to what everyone liked. So I spent chunks of my life trying to like fit into the social norms of what I grew up with around me, which a lot of the times was not having feelings. And I remember when I was younger, I smoked a lot of weed and did drugs and stuff like that. And I remember a point that we would all sit around in a circle, me and my buddies, and we'd smoke weed and pretend that we weren't high. It would be like who could feel the least. It was like at like one moment I was sitting there and it hit me. I'm like, why are we all pretending not to feel? And so for me, that
Wow.
like not feeling pushed me into a place where I was like have nightmares and I would feel like it would like come out in other ways until eventually I uh I was like, okay, I need to start doing what I love, and that's when I secretly in college started doing comedy and stuff like that, and going back to performing. So I did perform all throughout my Staten Island time in musical theater, but I like kept that life secret from a lot of other people I grew up around in high school.
That's really funny, the image of y'all like really high and then pretending that you're not high. That's really, yeah, that's an interesting image. And what do you think it was that started to make you feel safe enough to embrace this performing part of yourself?
I think I was deeply sad, and it was I was doing drugs, and it was like I just needed to something that brought me joy again. So then I started to do this thing that to not authentically be yourself and to pretend to be another person hurts you. It physically
Hmm.
and emotionally hurts you. And I was doing that for years, and um, I think eventually enough was enough where I was constantly anxious. I still have anxiety, but I was like constantly anxious so I think it was just, I hit a breaking point where I had to stop pretending. And I also stepped away from a lot of people in my life.
Yeah, so it goes.
Yeah.
And even in the context of performance and comedy. I'm not super familiar with stand up. I've watched Netflix specials and stuff, which you guys are fucking brave people. I feel like stand up people that do stand up are some of the most brave people. Like even to tell a joke in a circle of friends, sometimes I feel like you need a little bit of balls. So doing that in front of a room of people is sounds terrifying.
Well,
But
I mostly do improv and sketch stuff now.
oh, okay.
So, I agree. It is scary to tell jokes. But continue your question.
Improv's really cool too. Yeah, so in the context then of performing and comedy or even improv, did you ever feel like there was a certain like stereotype or type of guy or type of comic that you had to be?
Yeah. Chris Farley, do you know who that is?
Yes.
Thank God. Thank
I
God. I get
love Chris Farley.
Oh God, I love him too, and he was so much joy and so much love and a love of life. And he also, I was always a big guy, always plus size, so I would it was like a representation of how people could love me. I saw someone that uh, in your daily life as a kid, you get made fun of. All that stuff happens. You feel different than other kids growing up like that. And this was a person that it was like an avenue to find love, like in a bigger body. It was like, oh, everyone loves him. I never heard anyone say that they didn't love him. So I was like, if I want people to love me, I could be a person like him. Now, with that came a lot of complicated feelings because he was a person that also had an addictive personality, like I have, and he died at 33, which was like something that I would hold for years of my life. That I was just like, okay, when I turn 33, I'm just gonna die, and I held that weight for years and years. I remember I'm 35 now, and I remember being so terrified. Uh, to be 33. And I remember when I turned 34, I felt like this relief that like I told my buddy that about it. I was like, I feel like now is my second life.
Wow. Because you identified so closely with Chris Farley.
Yeah, I identified really. He was the person that taught me how to be accepted by people. So I was like, if I want to be him, that's what will happen. And also, there's this like idea around like big guys. John Belushi died at 33, so that big comedians die at 33 was this whole big like lore. So I was like, I love it. I'll just fucking do this until I die. And then I was like, turned 33, and I was like, okay, now what?
And like, what do you feel like has opened up for you in the second life?
I think care and love for myself. I think a person that's just like waiting to die probably doesn't have a lot of love for themselves. And I always thought that not loving myself was only hurting me, but then I slowly realized that not loving yourself also affects a lot of people that love you.
Mm-hmm.
So I like really tried to put like I guess I didn't put that together for years, which is fucking embarrassing, and I probably hurt other people along the way in that journey. But and then also people stuck by me through that, and I think that I learned that lesson, which I feel bad about, but I have to push through. I think that Mike Tyson has this beautiful quote that I'll butcher, something along the lines of like a strong man doesn't forget his past. He holds his past and still moves forward with it. Which I think is like really beautiful when you have like stuff that feels weighty to you. It's like, I wish I fucking loved myself more. I wish I took care of myself. I wish I did these things. I wish I didn't hurt this person because I couldn't show up for myself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I put that together. So I started really trying to every day do something to make feel good about who I am. This meditation you did before this really fucking worked. You got me fucking talking wild. You
Yeah,
make me meditate for
30
2
seconds.
minutes. Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's so funny. Well, like, okay, so on the topic then of you said you like to do something every day that feels good and feels supportive. What does that look like for you?
So for me, there's a lot of like removal for me to my body. Like I separate myself from my body, so learning how to be in my body. So last year I went on this journey where I wanted to make sure I hit 10,000 steps over the course of the year. And so every day I would walk. And I was able to accomplish it. And I didn't start until uh, April was the first month I did that goal. And so I had to like play catch up, and I would every day be walking, pacing. If it was raining outside, walking around my house. If it wasn't, going to neighborhood walks. And I was able to hit it, and it was just something that I was able to do. I spent my life making promises to myself that I broke a lot of times, and so it was nice to be at a place where, when you do that, when you make promises to yourself and you break those promises, you lose trust in you. So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be in a place where I could make a promise to myself, just one simple promise, and I could be there for me. So I could start building, because what's going to make me love me is building trust back in myself that I could depend on me.
Mm-hmm. What's coming to mind for myself too is just hearing you talk is like, so you have your podcast and you said you do improv.
Hmm.
So when it comes to like sharing your story about yourself or just like your, I don't know, when it comes to sharing you about yourself in your comedy, where do you find the line of like sharing too much? I was thinking about this on my drive home just now, of like when it comes to sharing with the public. Do you know what I mean?
I think I had to learn that I'm more open than other people in my life. So I think for me, I've shared too much about other people that have been in my life. So now I really make sure that I protect relationships in my life.
I've done
Uh,
that too.
yeah, and I
It's
think
bad. It's
it's
not-
bad, and it's a lesson that I wish I didn't have to learn,
Yeah.
because you make people feel bad, and so. But this is one of those things. I was like thinking before this and having to do this. It's okay to feel bad
Yeah.
because feeling bad means that if you're a person that wants to not feel bad and wants other people not feel bad, it will evoke change inside of you.
Yeah.
So I think that, and for me, my line for me is I'm pretty open, especially the more I do this, which probably could be bad. But also I like exaggerate lie. I won't don't lie, but I'll start with a story and then all of a sudden this person's saying something to me that didn't happen, just for like comedic effect a little bit.
Yes, I do wonder because like I see when I watch Netflix, I know you said you don't do stand up. Did you
Sure,
ever do stand up?
I have.
You did. Okay. For I don't know, maybe I like painted that in my brain about you, but anyway. Um I've when I watch Netflix specials, I always wonder how much of it's real. Sorry, there's these squirrels that are having a brawl right outside my window.
Oh
And
my
how
God.
much of it is kind of, for the sake of the comedy. And then how much I'm like, is this a real story? Like, I mean, Ali, what's her name? Ali Wong, she like tells
Hmm.
stories about her pregnancy and like her body. And I'm just like, girl, is this for real? And like, I mean, I guess you just have to come to terms with it before you share it. Like, you're not sharing like your precious baby. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you haven't processed something yet, you're probably not putting it out there as like a joke. But I think that's more what I'm curious about is like when it comes to sharing, especially in the context of comedy, how do you know that something's fully baked on your side to share it for laughs?
Oh, I guess when I guess when something sad happens or something that is upsetting, once I start laughing about it, then I can recognize what I find funny about it. And once I start finding something funny, that's when I'm like, oh yeah, I get excited, right? So I guess when I guess when the real emotions are still there, but you could kind of take a step back and see the perspective, the whole thing for what it is kind of a beautiful moment for me. When I want to share something like that, I do think that also sometimes I'll tell stories about like going to a store and this happened, and sometimes what I say the other person said or what I say I said was what I felt and what I thought they felt, and then I just put words to it. I think a lot of TV shows do that. A lot of stand-ups do that. A lot of storytellers do that because being coy is not funny. Like not saying what's really going on isn't
Yeah,
funny,
yeah, right.
but speaking truth is. There's a famous
Yeah.
book called Truth in Comedy where it talks about like how every comedic idea starts with this kernel of truth, the universal truth or truth to you, and then you grow it from there.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. That's interesting what you say too about what you felt the person wanted to say or like what you wanted to say. Because it could be this whole tense moment of exchanging looks, but there's this whole unspoken dialogue happening that you articulate in a comedy sketch or routine.
Yeah, and that's fun because then life gets a little bit lighter when all of a sudden like you're making fun of stuff. I'm able
Mm.
to like laugh at a moment rather than be upset around a moment because all of a sudden now I'm having fun with the ideas that I was wish I said and what.
And how do you feel like that's interwoven into your personal life?
I probably am a little too honest with people. I do a thing where I'll say I'll say what I'm really feeling in a fun way. So it kind of like tricks people that, and I get to speak my voice, but uh, I'm like being jokey about it.
Can I, like, do you have examples?
So like, say someone walked in and they spread mud all over my or like in the apartment. I go, great, no, are you kidding me? I love mud all over the place. So thank you. Todd is a good friend because he brings mud to my place. You know, right? I
Yeah, yeah.
like a little sarcasm, a little like, and also it lets the person know that I think like holding on to stuff and not speaking to it actually causes more of a fire burning.
Totally.
If we just cut through it and let's joke around about it, then it's great.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing of like being passive aggressive is you like bite down and you're like, oh, no, yeah, mud. That's fine, mud. But if you turn it into like a performance, there's this girl I follow on Instagram. You've probably not heard of her. Her name's Madeline Moon, but she talks about how you can use performance in relationships. So she's like, for example, if your partner is always leaving the toilet paper roll empty, instead of going to them and passive aggressively, like all clenched, saying, yeah, thanks for leaving me the roll empty again. She's like, write them like a letter and like cry on the letter of like why they didn't replace the roll, or she's like, pass out on the toilet, like make it like a
Silly.
drama. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with that. It makes things fun too. I think that like it's that like a thousand paper cut kind of thing. Let's not make it a paper cut. Tell me what's happening. Do you know that concept?
Death by a thousand cuts?
Yeah, yes, excuse me. Yeah, that's what it is, right?
I
I'm
don't
talking
know.
I'm
I'm,
talking out of term.
you tell me.
I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
just like little small things that you hold on to add up.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
it's not always one major thing that causes like a relationship like that to end, which sometimes it is, but sometimes it's these small things, and so speaking to those truths in the moment might actually help.
Do you think it's a cultural thing as well, like a New York thing to be more direct and be a little more honest?
Where where were you from originally?
California.
You're California, right? Because I know you live there now, so always California.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's New York. I guess it's like speaking your truth and also not speaking when you don't want to deal with someone. If I'm upset with someone, I don't talk to them.
Is that common
I think
in
so.
New York, you think?
I think because you're around people so much, like if you're
Hmm.
on the subway or walking around people, like you learn how to ignore stuff that like it's not worth your time. And then if you do speak up to someone, they are worth your time, which is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
To tell someone that they're doing something that annoys you should be, unless it's like their habit of doing that. But if you come to someone to be like, "This bothers me that you do that," that should be like a sign of I love you so much that I want to speak to this, so I don't hold on to this, so you and I can move forward.
I was just thinking about that too. If I'm bringing up a problem to you, it's because I love you and I want to keep having a relationship with you. Otherwise, I would just never speak to you again. You
And
know what
that's
I mean?
so easy. It's because it's
Yeah.
emotional labor for anyone to show up with the problem.
Yeah.
It's not easy for anyone to be doing that.
Yeah.
And that's how you forge through. I think, like, especially for relationships, remembering that you're a team. And when I say relationships, I mean any type of relationship, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do look at the difference too from New York to California. And I mean, have you spent any time here?
I visited
California?
once, but never it was
Okay.
only fun.
Okay. To LA, probably.
Actually, I went to Sonoma Valley and the
Oh,
Redwoods and San Francisco up there.
okay. Yes. NorCal. Okay. NorCal's different than Southern California, but I just spent the last 10 years living in SoCal.
Hmm.
And it's actually known for being very superficial. And you like go into a store or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, how are you?" It's like very tense and high pitched, and the little like compliments that they throw. Oh my God, your top is so cute. And I don't know. It's like it feels so different than um I've spent a lot of time in Europe and
Where?
in particularly Belgium.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. And they don't do that shit there, you know. They say hi, bye. And it's just such a different experience of interacting with people. That's
And
so
what do you
much more.
prefer?
I personally prefer more authentic interaction.
So what keeps you in California?
Well, I'm in NorCal now.
Never mind. Question revoked.
It's pretty different up here.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, great. I love that then. Now I'm
Yeah.
happy that you're in a place where you feel comfortable with the like how people interact.
Me too. That's sort of why I moved.
That's awesome. So I think
Yeah.
yeah, that's incredible. I think that too often people like think that we're stuck in a place.
Yeah, like we're hostages in our homes.
You're not. I'm so happy that you moved to a place where you're like, I like how people act around here.
Yes, I do. People here actually they like say hi to you, which really threw me when I first moved here. I thought they were like looking at someone behind me when they were waving, so that was kind of trippy, but have you ever lived anywhere other than New York and Staten Island?
I lived in Brooklyn,
Okay.
Manhattan, the Bronx.
I was just listening to the episode too with you and Robbie saying something about if you're not from Manhattan, you need to self-identify. Was that what it
Oh,
was?
I forget what I talk so much. I know it's because people from Manhattan don't seem like they're from New York. Probably I was making
Oh,
fun of it.
okay, okay. So, but mostly is like Brooklyn and is that not New York?
No, it is. Brooklyn
Oh,
is New
okay.
York. It's just a different energy.
Oh,
So, like,
okay.
that's why you say I'm from Brooklyn. I'm from like you say where when people ask where you're from, if you're from New York City, you say what borough you're from, or what neighborhood you're
Okay.
from. Uh,
Gotcha.
but people that move to New York just say I live in New York, or they go Manhattan. A lot of people that move to New York live in Manhattan.
Okay. What
A
are
lot of
the
people in Manhattan don't have accents like me either.
Okay, is your Staten Island?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Thank you for
Um,
saying nice.
no, I like it.
It sounds so horrible.
Is it Italian? American?
I guess so.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
I love
I'm
how,
sorry,
I, lo-
I don't know anything about the East Coast.
I love how you're like squinting your eyes like you're gonna see the accent. Like you're gonna find it through the sound
I
waves.
was looking at your last name to see. I'm like, that's Italian, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It is. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
My
Yes,
first name is too, just so you know.
it is. Okay, yeah. Well, I all my education is from Sex in the City, so I'm trying really hard to like pull, you know.
That I love Sex in the City. I'm a big fan of Sex in the
I
City.
love that show.
So that's like something I grew like. I love shows like that. I love Gilmore Girls. I love Sex in the City. I love Bridgerton. These are shows that I like. I grew up with two sisters, so like enjoying shows like that was so important to me.
They're good shows.
Incredible. The drama is real. I never liked sports. This is so much more fun.
I mean, I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Who do you identify with the most? Of course, I had to ask.
Yes. I don't know. It kind of fluctuates. This seems to be the consensus with people is like it depends on the day. Like
Okay.
today I'm feeling I don't know. Today I'm feeling kind of messy. So maybe like Carrie. But I would say like Miranda. I see myself in Miranda.
Interesting. That's fun.
Yeah. What about you?
Today, I love this. Today, who am I? Who
Yes.
do I feel? Today, I feel like Miranda because I am business.
On your shit.
I am moving today, but
Okay.
but I want to feel more Samantha in my life.
She has such a fun, confident energy.
She's so confident and sure in herself, and that makes her hot.
I know. I'm obsessed with Samantha.
She's the best. I mean, I get why she didn't come back for and just like that.
I I didn't even bother watching. Did you watch And Just Like That?
Of course, I did.
You did? You watched the whole thing?
I watched the whole. It's actually I watch it. It was like laughable how bad it was.
I watched, you know what? I actually watched the first two episodes and they're like 55, right? They're not like,
Hmm.
I wouldn't consider that old. I would say that's
No.
like, you're older, but you're not old. You're
Sure.
not like on death's door. And the
No.
way that they were talking about like they're basically like I don't know. I just felt like they were saying, "Oh, let me just crawl into the grave." And I started getting anxiety.
Sure. They had Golden Girls energy.
Uh-oh.
They're good.
Okay. What was the last thing you heard?
Uh, it felt like they were going into the grave.
Oh yeah, like it felt like they were basically gonna crawl into the grave at 55. And I started getting anxiety about death and I had to stop watching it.
Do you ever share how old you are?
I'm 28.
Great. So you're like you're an adult. You're moving into being like a real, not even close to early 20s anymore. So I
Yes.
guess you do start thinking about death a little bit.
Yes. Hearing 30, I think, yeah, that
Yeah.
turning point, you know?
Sure. Yeah. This makes sense. This is why you couldn't watch And Just Like That. It was too triggering.
Too triggering. Too scary. After Big died, I was like, all right,
On a Peloton.
on a Peloton. Who is your favorite man of Carrie's?
Hmm. I don't like Mr. Big.
No, fuck him.
No. I don't know. I think that I liked when she would like fuck a young bartender. You know what? I liked when she would have like those like there's an earlier in like I think season 1 she meets a bartender, she's just hooking up with him for fun. That's the Carrie I like because she's out here having a good time.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it was a bartender that she met that she stays over his apartment and his apartment's completely disgusting and she
Oh,
wakes up
yes.
and she's like, "Ew."
Yes.
Right? But I think that is the fun columnist that I want to follow.
Yeah.
Why? Who do you like? Aiden?
I did like Aiden.
Of course. I
Yeah.
mean, he's charming. He's
You have
wonderful.
to. Yeah, you gotta love Aiden. I did like Alexander Petrovsky. I felt like he kind of like unpopular opinion. I
Sure.
feel like he kind of put her in her place a little bit because season 5 was a crash out,
Uh
you
huh.
know? And then by season 6, I was like, we need to get an adult in here. And that's what I felt like Alexander Petrovsky was. I was like, we need a parental figure.
Oh, I love that. That's so funny.
Yeah. Coming back around to our main topic,
Of course.
gonna bring back in the questions. Okay. Okay, so when it comes to traditional ideas of masculinity, like right now we're dishing on Sex in the City, which is the my favorite thing. Um, what are the most ridiculous ideas about masculinity you've encountered either in your personal life or in comedy and beyond?
I guess this idea that you have to like push the boundaries, like, um, I don't like that. Masculine. I guess that like you can't feel feelings. That like anger is an appropriate feeling. Like, and that's all you could feel. I don't like that idea around masculinity. That like there's approved emotions and non-approved emotions. Because for me, I'm a person when I get in an argument, I get like sad or I'll like feel my feelings. It'll take me a moment to process. I'm not like a yeller or anything like that. So like I think like I remember watching my friend in junior high like punch walls. And I remember I was a kid and I would fake punch walls because I wanted to like fit in. And then I watched him punch the brick wall and his
Oh,
hand shattered. And then I remember it was like, I think I'm good on this.
yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, but like this idea of like approved emotions and not approved emotions. Um,
And how do you feel like that's explicitly or implicitly communicated to young boys that anger is the only acceptable emotion?
I think when you see something sad happen and then when you feel sadness but you see other people around you getting angry, that's how it's communicated. Like I remember being a CYO basketball and which is just like youth basketball organization, and like we would lose a game or we'd be losing and I'd feel sad, and then there was a couple of dads that were like so aggressive that they would like throw chairs. And I go, wait, why? So my
Wow.
sadness shouldn't be sadness. It should be that other thing. I remember like thinking like, oh, I feel sad, but sad for grown-ups is mad. I had
Yeah.
multiple people I knew, dads got bans from CYO basketball. The score would be 10-12, and grown men would be getting kicked out of churches because they would
Wow.
be so angry.
And so when it comes to like starting to integrate or feel like what age do you feel like you were when you started to feel like, oh, like this is a thing. I wasn't able to express anything but anger. And then when did you start feeling like
I don't
maybe, yeah, go ahead.
I don't think I was ever angry. I think I would fake it. And then I felt different about it. I would always feel sad. I was a big crier. My mom would always joke that I cried every day as a little kid. And then like I stopped for a while. And then I think I got older and I don't think it came back all at once. I like did a lot of numbing in my life between like drugs and food and um looking for external validation through stuff, and like I think I did a lot of like not looking at myself, and then slowly, like anything, one step I you take step forwards to like to not feel your feelings, and just in the same regard I had to take one step back, one step at a time to start feeling my feelings more.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy helped.
Yeah.
Therapy helped me like identify feelings. I think I had a lot of feelings I couldn't identify it, so once they start rolling back in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm really curious about with men, because I feel like women have a different experience with this, is the social network for men.
uh yeah, there was not unf- yeah, I think that for growing up, socially, men were like, it was all about an activity. And like, and there was also a hierarchy based on that activity. And normally that activity was like sports related or video game related. So I think that was hard. And I remember when, like, I came to the age where we could start smoking weed, I got so excited. I don't even think to smoke weed. I liked smoking weed, but it was more that I got to do the things I love to do, which was talk, snack, and laugh. And so all of a sudden, I found this thing that now it was socially acceptable for me to exhibit the behavior I wanted, which was to be silly. And I could just say I got high, so I was cool still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I just want to laugh. I want to be silly, and I want to have a good time with my friends and talk, and not have to be doing a sport or like be like, how many water bottles can you chug? Let's time each other chugging water bottles. I'm like, and I would do it, and I was fucking awesome at it. I was incredible at chugging water bottles, but I just wanted to laugh and talk and snack, and
That
and
sounds ideal.
I know, and weed gave this like license that I could still fit this norms of society that like I was cool and like people because I was overweight, so I was obsessed with like not being an out like being cool. I was like had to figure out how I could be cool, figure out how I could be cool, and that was like through personality and being fun and stuff. And I figured out like, oh, if I smoke weed, I could still do all the things I love and be silly and fit into this norm that's created.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And so with you and how did you meet Robbie?
He was my improv student.
Okay.
So
Um, Go ahead.
no, yeah, so that was nice. And uh, after I talked to him a bunch, and he grew up in a similar kind of environment that I did, so we had connected on a lot of those things. And then during the pandemic, we linked up and talked about like creating something together.
Well, I love that you guys have created this platform where you talk. I was just listening to the episode where I don't know if this is a reoccurring subject, but y'all were talking about Gilmore Girls and how it's like so cozy in fall to watch a series in the suburbs and like it was so sweet and I was like, hell yeah, like that's what you want in fall, you know? And like how is it for you now to have created this um you've created this thing that is, I think, super cool and I think objectively very cool. And it's also very like soft feeling, if that makes sense.
I love that. That's what I want. I like have been looking for a lot of time. People say find their voice, and I think like finding things that bring me joy is what is like things that make me feel happy and comfortable. I'm a big cozy guy. I like to be comfortable. And I was like constantly trying to fight. Oh, let me say these, let me be edgy, let me be loud in this way. I was like, no, I like to be passionate and have love for these sweet things. And I think that I learned through doing the podcast sometimes like making fun of stuff is great, but like really leaning into how beautiful just loving what you love without any regard to what other people would think makes me feel the best. And I think those moments come across, and that's what people normally connect to too.
Yeah, you just articulated something too that I felt when I saw your guys' content and I couldn't articulate myself, but it's you're not making fun of everything. I think that's like one thing with comedy is that there's this tearing down that happens
Yes.
that creates kind of an insecurity even as the person taking it in of like, oh, like I shouldn't talk too loud or I shouldn't put my like I don't want to be seen because then what if someone sees me and talks about me like this? You know what I mean? Whereas your
Sure.
guys' flavor of comedy is so different.
I love that. I think that like shedding I we do make fun of stuff. We make fun of the ideas of men a bunch. But like I feel like that's because that's a world that him and I have both broken out of, or that's a world that we see kids and we're like, look how dumb you're acting right now. You
Yeah.
know, right? But also I think that being kind and having this joy is nice because I was putting out these videos that were a little more like making fun of things, and then people would make fun of me back. And I go, I fucking hate this. And I would get agita. I got deleted the apps. I would only go on the computer to post. And then I was like, I can't do that. And I was like, I noticed that when I started putting out content about things that I loved and enjoyed, people were returning that love to me.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, but I also, of course, it is, you know, because
Yeah.
if you're like this fucking phone is a void and it'll make you feel horrible if you want, or it can make you feel great. That's what I loved about TikTok so much. I think it's changed a little bit now, but like I created such an algorithm that I got to show up and I got to create this beautiful what I want. And so I think that we found moments where we're in that sweet spot of like, oh, this is people that like want to be celebrating things in their life, celebrating the little joys, the little treats along the way.
Yeah, I love that little treats along the way. And so what has been the general reception to you guys to your podcast?
Um, I think it's hard. I'm overweight, so everyone always comments I'm overweight if they don't know me on my videos, which is fucking annoying. Because it's like I can't say anything. If they have any slightly of a different opinion than me, they come for me. It's been getting better, but I would get horrible DMs a bunch of people not even following me. It was wild. And I was like, oh, I can't even speak on stuff. But then I think when we found our pocket and figuring it out, we have like a solid group of people that really follow and listen, and that I think we try to do is like speak to what's happening, but also while like shedding light on the joyful parts of the world and things that we love.
Hmm.
So I do love when people will get like I'll get a message occasionally saying like how much something meant to them, or like they were having a tough time and then they listened to an episode and felt better. Because sometimes you do this, I'm sure you feel like we're just yelling into the void.
Yeah, totally.
And then to occasionally get like a message like that really goes, okay, I got another month in me.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I feel like the comedy podcasts or what you guys do. I mean, my podcast is, more
Hmm.
self-helpy, but I was talking to my sister today on my like 4-hour drive and I was like, I don't listen to my shit and I don't listen to other people's shit. That's like my shit. I want to
Sure.
listen to like I mean, I listen to podcasts about Disney history, about,
Uh,
like just funny, stupid stuff that you just
sure.
want to take a mental break.
And
And that's so valuable.
I listened to some podcasts that were like comedy based podcasts of people I don't know. I prefer that. And sometimes I would listen, and these people would be just making fun of everything and ragging on everything. And eventually I felt like my energy would be getting sucked out. And so I like try to remind myself that most people absorb me as like almost a buddy in the room that's just talking as they do stuff. Like, and what type of energy do you want as a person in the room with you, right? If we're gonna get serious, we'll get serious and be real and honor that moment. But if we're gonna be light, we're gonna be light and fun and try to have a fun conversation that you get to just be a part of while you deal with the fucking mundane
Yeah,
nature of life.
totally.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's something too to the like you said, you guys make fun of things, but mostly it's I feel like pretty positive, uplifting conversation. And I know for a time I got really into, Cody Co
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube. I got really into his stuff. And he has a certain, like, that flavor of comedy that's very, he'll watch something and he'll pick it apart. And it's really funny, but at a certain point, I think he's kind of changed his groove now in the recent years. But at a certain point, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like scared to exist in the world now because what if I post something weird and I end up on some YouTube channel where someone's picking me apart? And then it starts to change how you interact with the world. Whereas,
Totally.
if you're taking in content that's more positive,
We get to choose what we absorb,
the
and
content.
yeah,
Yeah, totally.
we get to choose, and sometimes that is, and one day it might happen that someone pulls a video of you and picks it apart, and it's
It's
gonna
already
suck.
happened.
It
It's
has.
totally. Are you kidding
Oh
me? Yeah.
God, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. You know how it is. It's like
Yeah,
you survive it and then you forget
thank God,
eventually. Yeah.
thank God. You
I
have
know,
to
thank God.
forget.
You got to scrub it from your mind.
Oh
Um,
God,
So you mentioned earlier too that you and Robbie you said we do make fun of some things. We make fun of certain aspects of being a man or something like that. Can you tell me more about that?
not loving women.
Oh my
I,
God.
I think we talk about that a lot. I think both him and I like women, and there's a lot of men that say they like women but don't exhibit any qualities in that. They say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I like women," but they don't. I think they like their idea of what a woman is rather than actual people.
Why do you think that is?
Because I mean, because for years women were, I mean, at least in like American society, were looked at as like these objects or tools that we didn't even they couldn't vote, they didn't have credit cards until the 70s, like they
Mm.
were men were like, I provide, and this is a status symbol for me, is how what type of wife I get and stuff like that. So I think that probably men were taught that. I mean, I'm talking out my ass, I'm not a sociologist, but
No, I think
uh
there's something there.
yeah, right. I think that men were taught that because of laws that women weren't treated as equals, and I think that a lot of men still hold on to this idea that of how a woman should behave and how they should talk and what their sexual life before a partner could be, and how they should once they become your partner, how they could dress. I can't imagine having a girlfriend, getting a girlfriend that. And I was attracted to her because she wore hot clothes. And then once she became my girlfriend, I was like, don't wear that. I can't even fucking imagine that. I can't imagine, like, not yeah. I want them to feel great. I think that a lot of, and I also like to have fun and want someone that's I'm gonna have fun with and chat with, and most of your relationship with someone isn't sexual. And I think that most men just view it as a sexual relationship.
Do you think it's because there's like an emotional disability with men? Because like you said, there's kind of this lack of nurturing around your emotional life. And so I feel like women are very emotional. Do you think it's this mismatch?
I think
Just your
it's
opinion.
I think it's that. I also think there's a lot of fucking bad information out there. I think that kind of how I'm saying, like, you could curate what you want on your phone. Like, I think there's a lot of young boys that get worried about what they're putting into their minds based on who they look up to and what they hear in the world. So, I mean, I haven't always been perfect. I'm far from it. But I try to be better every day and try to like think about how it can be better and how I affect people. And I think that there's a lot of like Andrew Tates of the world that are getting into little kids' ears right now too, that they're teaching them how what they should look for in women, and I think that is dangerous to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah.
I mean, I think that also men like that are emotionally stunted, and they're just he's a fucking asshole monster, and but like we want to be perceived as masculine, so and people like him are lifted up onto this masculine platform, right? And so it's like I want to be a man, and that's like a bad example of what a man is. I saw someone post the other day. They go, uh, this there's a service in Japan that you could hire a hot man to like sit with you as you
Yeah.
watch a
I've
show.
seen
Did you
that.
did
Yeah.
you and cry? And someone I was like reading the comments and stuff, and someone was like, "This is what the female gaze is. This is what masculinity is. How do we teach boys that this is what it is?" I think it's just masculine men are masculine towards other male gaze rather than try to be masculine towards female gaze.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
I could be. I mean, I don't know. Everything uh,
I mean, I think ultimately it's such a complex issue that it's
yeah.
not one particular thing. It's, like a many, many years, hundreds, maybe thousands of years of life that has led us to this point. But one thing I think of too, just from my background of like trauma sensitivity is I think there's this negative feedback loop that happens, especially in the dating world. Like I've seen this, I've experienced it where you if you're a woman dating men and then vice versa, your main exposure with the opposite sex is through dating. And typically, dating maybe doesn't go super great all the time. And so you experience
Mhm.
all these ruptures with people, and then you start getting bitter, and then you start, like you said, consuming content that reaffirms that. And then it's like this confirmation bias that kind of happens. And I noticed that on both sides too.
I think it's good that we learn to have friends
Yeah.
of all of every gender of all walks of life, every gender, because that's when you start like you don't need to. I think it is bad when like people that go to all boys school never hang out with a woman, and then all of a sudden they do, and it's just like this like creature, this mythical thing in their mind that's about like receiving for a date, rather than I was lucky enough to grow up with sisters who had friends that were women, so I got to then make them my friends. And growing up, then doing theater and stuff like that, I was around a lot of women and stuff. So which I feel very and gay guys and gay girls, which I feel very lucky about, because then it's like, oh, it's about people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
makes sense. You're not reducing the person to a stereotype or making them a fantasy. It's like you actually know them and have a real relationship with them.
And what can I get out of this? What's this what's the it's sometimes you just have a friend. I can't wait to see some of my best friends are women, and that's awesome. I love that. And I think that also that is part of like what I like about me, and is that I have friends of all different walks of life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like that's how you start to understand people's experiences.
it's the reading, but that's fucking hard. It's easier to
Who
hang
wants
out with
to
people.
read? Like,
Come on, what are we doing? The words never stop.
yeah, they
It's
just keep going. I'm trying to watch Sex and the City. I'm not trying to open up a book.
I remember when I first discovered documentaries, I was like, "Oh, finally, I could get smarter without
Yeah.
reading." I
Yeah,
remember being so
documentaries are
happy.
great.
Um,
One last question too before kind of like wrapping up.
of course,
You mentioned Chris Farley, which I just want to mention this because do you remember when we had like the iPods, the first gen video iPods?
of course.
Yes, they're like a brick. My mom had downloaded the episode that was all Chris Farley sketches.
Oh,
So I'm familiar, and I remember the one where he would, the living in a van down by
of
the
course.
river.
Can I show you something?
Yes, please. Oh my God, hell yeah. Oh wait, is he squatting?
Yeah,
Oh my
he's
God,
in his
that's
little.
so
I have
funny.
the Matt Foley, the living in the van down by the river guy
Yes,
bobblehead. It's like an actual ceramic, nice bobblehead.
that is so funny.
I love him so much.
It was so funny too how they broke too and how everyone was laughing, but he didn't break.
No, and what's so fun about that, and what I love about comedy is like he was a flawed person. Like I think that doing comedy and things like that, like the whole point of it, of the what's funny is he's giving this motivational speech about how they need to get their life together when his life is an absolute disaster. So I think what makes comedy so beautiful is you get to look at your flaws and look at like how you're wrong and get comfortable with them and then get better at them, right? Making fun of them so they don't become this big secret monster.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I like that idea. So other than Chris Farley, is there any comedians or like public figures in general that you think are doing a good job of redefining masculinity in their art?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. What do I think? I think Bill Burr is a good example of that. I think he really speaking. I think a masculine thing is speaking uh towards power, to like saying this is something that's wrong. I think that is a great use of masculinity, is to be like, I don't like this. These powerful people, what the fuck are you doing? Speaking up for people that need to be spoken up for. I think it's a very we should be changing what masculinity, like the definition of it is. So I think that he does actually a really beautiful job doing that. And he's someone that I look up to because he's grown so much as a person and continues to grow, and I think that's really beautiful. I think a person that stays stagnant in who they are and doesn't continue to change and get better based on who they previously were is not someone I'm interested in surrounding myself with or absorbing.
So what's his story or like arc
He
that
was
pulls
just
you in?
he was a Boston comedian that's just very funny, that had his own biases and has had this process of like figuring out who he is. He grew up very angry with an angry father and things like that, and he has his own anger and stuff like that until he's learned to like love through his wife, who's taught him a lot of lessons, and love through adopting animals and of that
Mm,
nature and stuff like that. And then he's learned to speak up for people, that he's a working class person that speaks up for a lot of working class people that I feel like need to be spoken up for now.
that's cool.
Yeah. And
Awesome.
I think that he's someone that we could look towards and to say good things. I saw this video of a guy yelling in a airport, and it was the guy was yelling at another man for like picking on like a small woman. And it's like
Mm.
this is the type of masculinity that we need: people standing up for other people, not people being masculine to push other people down.
Yeah, you said something about power dynamics. And I think
Hmm.
that's really interesting, just the idea of like I think men do have a certain kind of power, and I think you're right, using it in certain ways to maybe uplift the collective, for lack of a better word. Oh my goodness. Daisy, Daisy, come here. Sorry, one sec.
You're good.
Daisy, come here. Come here. Good job. Good job. Okay, thank you. Um, to uplift the collective is probably, I would say, I don't even know what I was talking where I had something, but now I'm like, I don't. I think I was just talking about power dynamics because there's obviously, this innate power dynamic with men and women or
Sure.
men and other. And so, like you said, using it in a way where you're actually like supporting and protecting feels like very clean, other than like the opposite might be, using it to have power over someone.
Yeah, and I think that
Yeah.
sometimes we need someone teaching the truth around that there is power dynamic between there, and that how we could use it for good, or how we could use it to stand up for people, or uh, I don't know. I don't know who's talking about this publicly. I hope it's more and more people.
I mean, you're doing it. You're doing
Uh,
it.
yeah, I know, but I feel so flawed is the problem. I need someone that's not flawed.
I
I
don't think,
have
okay, then that'll be no one. And I don't think you need like a degree in sociology or like, you know what I mean? Like, we just need people just literally bringing it up, even in casual conversation with friends.
sure, and I think that also I think that people who have been like, "Oh, I've messed up," and I have to believe that people need to change, because if we don't believe in people changing and growing, then we're gonna just stay as bad as we are or get worse. So we have to be like, "Oh fuck, that was me for a little bit. Let me fucking move forward." I think that's the only way for us as a people collectively to get better, is to notice that you did something wrong, feel bad about it, and try to move forward and grow from there.
Yeah, I feel like we could do a whole episode on that too of like um yeah, like let people redeem themselves a little bit.
We need half the country to.
Yeah. And I hope I'm redeemable too, in like
Sure,
just the existentially,
of course.
or else I'm in trouble. So, any last thoughts before we close out on like any of these topics?
uh, it's good to laugh and smile. Like that's all we want to do, especially me. And so I wish it was that things were just good. Like I wish that we could just all have fun. That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
Can't that be the goal, that we all are trying to? I don't know. I don't know. It's all confusing, and I change my minds constantly, and I keep trying to think about stuff, and I think that's okay to. As I said before, I think it's like I think you have to like speak up for people that need to be spoken up for. And I think that's I want to be doing a better job at that as I continue my life. Um as like a straight white male, I do have a voice, and I do want people to feel safe and comfortable. I want everyone to feel safe and comfortable. Oh no, I'm
Not
rambling.
everybody.
Not you're right. You're right. 100%. Not everyone. You are right. Excuse me. Thank you for saying that. I don't want everyone to feel safe and comfortable. I
Yeah.
want yes. There are people that I don't want to feel safe and comfortable. Um you are so right. Yeah, that's something I also
I mean, I
struggle with.
understand both sides of it because you're like, no, I want people to feel safe and comfortable around me, but not everybody.
No, because some people need to take a step back and hey, fix yourself, and I don't need to be a part of that journey.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
also, that's something I've learned, like hey, I don't need to be a part of your journey. I know that you are dealing with this. I'm happy that you're figuring this out. I don't need to be a part of it. And I'm not going to hold that weight. You don't hold that weight. Just get out of here.
Yeah, I'm gonna bow out.
Yeah, I think that it's okay to bow out of relationships.
Yeah,
I
totally.
I totally agree. And then let the person go on and and try to do different. I don't need to be
Yes.
there. Fuck that. I already saw the other side, babe. Let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said something like at the beginning, like I still have anxiety, and I'm like, me too, and I don't need anything to add to that. I don't need coffee. I don't need people to add stress, you know.
You don't do coffee?
No, like I'm sensitive. I'm at max right now. I'm at max stress.
Can I ask you what you do in the morning?
In the morning, instead of drinking coffee,
Breath work?
no. I go outside. I try to get sun on my face. That's supposed
Uh-huh.
to be really good for your hormones. And then I drink hot water with lemon, honey, and salt.
Is it tasty?
I like it.
That's how you know something's not tasty. When someone goes,
It
I
could be
like it.
worse. It could be worse. It's like, I
What's
mean, it's water with, honey, lemon, and salt.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
It's
yeah.
not like a delicious, like full fat coffee with
Yeah.
caramel and chocolate. That would be way better. Yeah.
I like it. It's so funny.
It's healthy. It's like
Sure.
one of those.
It's nice to start your day with something like that though, because then you feel like I could do it.
I'm like, I'm hydrated and now I can take on one stressful thing today.
Are you a person that doesn't hydrate?
Oh, yeah, I won't drink any water if I don't force myself.
Really? Is it the flavor?
Yeah, it's a flavor thing. It's like, it just tastes like nothing. Why would I want to drink it?
But here's the thing. Do you ever catch the feeling where it goes down your throat and your whole insides feel cold?
Yeah,
You don't like that.
I would prefer warm water.
There was this question online that it said, if you were to wash your brain, what would you wash it with? Cold water or warm water?
Cold sounds more refreshing.
See, and I think everyone's like, this is a personality type. This is how you like what you need. You want to like wake up and like make it open it up and make it feel alive. For me, I want warm water where it like scrubs away everything that's all the
All the
dirt.
gunk, get it
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, so I thought that was so. I love the cold sensation in my chest, though. First thing in the morning, taking a big sip of water and feeling it go down my throat. That's when I feel like I'm a human. I go, I'm human. I feel the water in me.
Yeah. That's what you do when you wake up.
I take water. I drink a gallon of water a day easily.
Okay, good for you.
I mean,
That's
I do a
I'm
lot
trying
of
to
other
get
bad
there.
stuff, but
But I drink my water.
I drink my water. That was never a problem. Always. Well, I was chugging water with the boys when I
Yes,
was a kid.
yeah, right, right. You were the water chugging king.
Of course, of course.
Right. So where can people find you? Like your personal and your podcast handle on Instagram and TikTok.
Sebastian Conelli. Follow me there. That's awesome. I want people to follow me. I post stuff there. I post about things that I'm doing. And Loud About Nothing. You could TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube. Check out the YouTube and or Spotify. Listen to full episodes if you want. But follow and we post a ton there. So if you just want some clips before you listen to a full episode, that'd be awesome.
Awesome. Any last thoughts or any other places that people can find you?
No, I appreciate getting a time to talk about this with you. I appreciate the space. Thank you.
Same.